What up, fight fans? So April 18th, doubleheader on HBO. Really one of the better doubleheaders HBO's had in quite a while, as we are getting, I believe the first fight is going to be Terence Crawford versus Thomas Dulorme, and the main event, that because it's a split feed, it's going to be Lucas Matthysse and Ruslan Provodnikov, and obviously that should be the main event considering the type of fight that's going to be. But I want to cover first the Terence Crawford versus Thomas Dulorme fight. Now, on that same night, Showtime is airing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I forgot the guy's first name, from Farah. I'm not like super geeked about that fight, and obviously the HBO card has the better fights. So I'm just going to focus on that card for April 18th. And fortunately and unfortunately, I'm going to miss the fight live, as I'm going to be at my cousin's wedding in Tampa. So I'll be able to catch it a little bit after, but it's obviously incredibly hard to hide the results or try to, hide from seeing the results, because in today's day with social media, it's virtually impossible, man. So I'll still watch it, obviously, the following day, but I'm just going to really run down my predictions on what I think is going to happen in both fights. Now, to start off with the Terence Crawford and Thomas Dulorme fight, this is going to be Crawford's first fight at 140 pounds. He's coming off a dominant win against Ray Beltran, and prior to that, he had a knockout win over Yorkis Gamboa, which is his biggest name so far. And moving to 140 pounds now, things are going to get really interesting for Terence Crawford. And I think for Dulorme, as far as the matchup, I think it's a good first fight at 140 pounds. Thomas Dulorme, in a way, was one of the Puerto Ricans that was coming out of Puerto Rico that a lot of people were keeping their eye on, but he obviously had a major setback. And the one constant with him has been that has somewhat of a shaky chin. And he was being trained by Robert Garcia, but for this fight, and I don't know if it's going to be the case in his other fights after, but I think he wanted to train in Puerto Rico. And, Robert Garcia, we all know that the guy, his camp is one of the major camps in boxing. And, I mean, he's got a slew of fighters he's training. So, according to Robert Garcia, it was virtually impossible for him to go to Puerto Rico to train Dulorme. So Dulorme, I forgot who he went to, but he is not training with Robert Garcia for this fight. But not to really get into too much detail, but I think, like I said, I think this is a good fight for Terence Crawford to look good in his first fight at 140 pounds. I think Crawford's power might show up a little better at 140. I mean, if there was word he was having a little bit of trouble making 135, and the one thing when you see things like that and you see the fighter go up a weight class, a lot of times you see a more energized and maybe a little more powerful fighter, being that they're not struggling to cut a lot of weight, and everything is there. And I think for Dulorme, like I mentioned, his chin has always been a little suspect, and for a guy that I thought was going to be better, or at least with the fundamentals that he does show, it's just he's always like a step back to where his potential, or at least for what a lot of people believe would be at a certain point. I think Terence Crawford is going to exploit a lot of those holes that Dulorme has shown over the last several fights. And I think that Crawford honestly has a very good chance of knocking Thomas Dulorme out. And to give Dulorme the benefit of the doubt, though, I mean, the guy is a skilled fighter. It's just there's certain guys, they just reach a certain level and they can't hit that hump over. And I think that's where Dulorme is. And for Crawford, I think this, not to repeat myself, but I mean, I think this is a good first fight for him, and a fight I think he's going to win pretty decisively. That's going to launch him into more interesting fights as maybe a lead into what the main event is, or at least to lead into possibly fighting one of the guys that comes out the winner in the main event. But I have Terence Crawford winning a late stoppage in this fight. I think the boxing skill, and I think Crawford is maybe a little underrated in the power department, and we've seen in previous fights, man, that he can crack. But I think as well with Crawford, we're going to see how his chin is at 140 against bigger punchers, because Dulorme can, he can hit. And we saw in the Gamboa fight, as small as Gamboa is, I mean, he could crack. I've seen Gamboa in person, and I've seen, obviously when he from 126 to 130 and 135. I mean, his speed and his power are something that I think every fighter that gets in the ring with him has to be prepared for. And I think even when he fought Crawford, who's a bigger guy than Gamboa, Crawford, he's a guy who takes risks, and he took some risks and got hit, and noticeably, was a little shaken by those shots. And mind you, this is a smaller guy than Dulorme is. So I think for Crawford, he does have to be careful, but I think skill-wise, and I think he does have enough power that's going to cause some problems for Dulorme. And I think towards down the stretch, he's going to land several shots that's going to, put Dulorme on shaky legs. So I have Crawford winning that fight by a late stoppage. So on to the main event. Now this fight, honestly, man, I don't know. I'm pretty sure, or I can't think off the top of my head as far as if there was a fight that had the tagline "War." But when I think of these two meeting, I can't think of another title to put to this fight, "War," because Lucas Matthysse and Ruslan Provodnikov, without question, are two of the most dangerous 140-pound fighters in the world. Now, Ruslan Provodnikov was coming off a fight against Chris Algieri to what many believe was a fight Ruslan Provodnikov should have won. Chris Algieri was dropped by him, I want to say, I think it was twice in the first round of their fight. Was still getting tagged in a sense in the fight, but managed to keep Provodnikov at distance, and he won a unanimous, or was it a split decision? I think it was a split decision. And he got the fight with Manny Pacquiao, because prior to that, the fight that was at the helm was going to be a fight between Manny Pacquiao and Ruslan Provodnikov. And, we obviously saw what happened, and Manny fought Chris Algieri instead. So with that being said, though, I don't think that eliminates or erases the aura of Ruslan Provodnikov as far as how powerful of a puncher this guy is. I mean, I think we all saw what happened in the Tim Bradley fight, and Tim Bradley on several occasions has admitted that he does not ever want to get in the ring with Ruslan Provodnikov. And that's no knock to Timothy Bradley, man. I mean, look, I think that's a humbling statement on his end, because I don't think there's anybody that has gone in the ring with him and or that has been in that type of situation that's going to be gung-ho to get in a fight like that again. So, I mean, that shows really Tim Bradley's humbleness, if that's a word, as far as how he looks at Ruslan Provodnikov. And then with Lucas Matthysse, his knockout percentage is one of the highest in boxing. And we seen him in fights with the likes of Danny Garcia, in a fight that he lost, but was somewhat of a back and forth fight. He knocks out Lamont Peterson, and he's been in credible fights, man, and he's fought top level guys. And when I look at the style matchup, Matthysse, yes, is the better boxer, but when I look at who has the more authoritative power, I mean, it's hard not to go with Provodnikov as far as just in the later, at least in the later stages, or at least in the more recent fights of both guys. I mean, look, Provodnikov's a dangerous fucking guy, man. Lucas Matthysse, we seen him in the John Molina fight, in a fight that many of us thought he should have dominated, but that didn't really happen. And I mean, John Molina didn't hurt Matthysse in a way where he was on wobbly legs and he was about to go out. But the fact that he did drop him twice, and now you got a guy like Provodnikov who only knows one way: come forward and throw. And I think this is going to pose to be a difficult fight for not only Provodnikov, but for Matthysse too, because I think Matthysse has to be wary of Provodnikov's power. And I think in a way he has to play somewhat of the matador. Like, funny enough, man, like, I think he has to approach the fight similar to like a Juan Manuel Marquez did with Manny Pacquiao. Don't get into too many exchanges, but be the counterpuncher that is somewhat of an offensive fighter too. Because the thing with Provodnikov, he's not really a great counterpuncher if at all. And I think Matthysse's best bet is to, like I said, fight somewhat of like a Marquez, and he's shown signs that he can do that. I mean, I don't think he's anywhere near as great a counterpuncher as Marquez is, but he is better than Provodnikov in that department. He just has to play smart and be a little more tactical than trying to get in a slugfest with Provodnikov, because I would lean towards Provodnikov in that department. But when I look at both guys, like I said, I think Matthysse has the better boxing pedigree, and he's shown it. And I think if he can apply somewhat of a in and out type of situation and kind of bait Provodnikov to keep coming in and try to land uppercuts, like, you know, Matthysse has a tendency to kind of do sometimes, or these little left hooks that he likes to land as well. That I don't know if it was the third or fourth round that he hit Danny with one, and I was like impressed with Danny's chin and when a few of those shots landed. But you know, it's weird, man. It's a toss-up fight to me, but like, I'm giving the edge slightly to Lucas Matthysse. Again, only because I think he's a better boxer, and he does pack power, and we haven't seen Provodnikov in it with a menacing puncher like a guy like Lucas Matthysse. So, you know, with all the intangibles put on the table, I think this is going to be somewhat of a war, but I think it's going to be a fight that I think Lucas Matthysse is going to come out the victor in. And I think the fight might go to decision, man. And I think while I think people may paint it like a war, I think Matthysse is going to come out showing that he's got more ability. And I think he's going to hit Provodnikov with harder shots than I think he's been accustomed to feeling. And I won't be surprised if Matthysse gets a late stoppage. Again, like Provodnikov, there's only so many fights that you could fight just coming straight forward. And even for somebody like Algieri, who's not a big puncher at all, I mean, he was just pecking Provodnikov here and there, and Provodnikov really didn't have any answers to it. And I think really that's the only approach that Provodnikov knows how. And against a puncher, I think that's going to prove to be dangerous down the stretch. So while I think it's a toss-up fight, I'm leaning towards Matthysse getting a late stoppage. I think at the same time, Matthysse is going to get, you know, I don't want to say a beating, but he's going to get marked up in this fight. But I think I can't see this not being an entertaining fight. And again, for this doubleheader, I think it's a solid doubleheader for HBO. Following this card, though, for those who don't know, maybe they're going to premiere the HBO side of the promotion for Pacquiao and Mayweather, or Mayweather Pacquiao, as far as the 1 hour special. And then the Showtime that same night, being that, you know, they're airing the Chavez Fonfara fight. After following that card, they're gonna premiere the 4-part series with Showtime. It's not all access, but it's, I guess, a 4-part series just chronicling Floyd's lead up to the fight with Pacquiao. But it's, I don't know why they didn't just call it all access. So, but as far as the HBO card is concerned, I got 2 stoppages in this fight. I got Terence Crawford winning by late stoppage, and I got Lucas Matthysse winning by late stoppage. And quite honestly, I think this could be a fight for the fall, meaning Terence Crawford versus Lucas Matthysse, which I think would be fireworks in itself. So that's my predictions for this fight. Let me know what you think as far as who you have winning this fight. And this weekend, I guess to make a quick prediction, I mean, I don't want to make a full video about it, but the CBS debut of PBC on CBS, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard, 12 Pacific. with Adonis Stevenson versus Sakio Bika, which if Stevenson wins, and I am picking him to win by mid-late round stoppage, from what we're hearing, there's a purse bid being put out that Al Heyman is apparently going to drop $10 million or so to secure a Sergey Kovalev versus Adonis Stevenson fight in Montreal for September 26th. If that comes about, I mean, craziness. That would really solidify the undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world, and it's a fight I hope is made. It's a great fight that, again, another fireworks type of fight. And man, in 2015, if we're getting that, and we're getting this word about, you know, this whole Miguel Cotto situation with HBO and them signing off on the fight with him and Haaland, if you guys haven't read on that, and the deal is supposedly set with the inclusion of a guarantee of a Cotto Canelo fight in the fall. So if we get obviously we're getting Mayweather Pacquiao, we get a Sergey Kovalev Adonis Stevenson fight and a Cotto Canelo fight all in 1 year. I mean, I think arguably that this could be the greatest year in boxing in a very, very long time, man. So hopefully that fight pans out. But April 18th, I got excuse me, train of thought lost. I got Terence Crawford winning by a late stoppage, and I have Lucas Matthysse winning by a late stoppage. So let me know what you think, and as I always say, subscribe, hit the links, and I'll be back with you soon.